Imagine waking up every morning with a mind that cannot be shaken by criticism, failure, fear, or uncertainty. What if true strength wasn't about controlling the world, but mastering yourself? More than 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius wrote timeless principles that continue to transform lives today. In this speech, we'll explore 10 Stoic lessons that will immediately change your life. Practical wisdom that builds resilience, discipline, inner peace, and unshakable confidence. Let's begin the journey toward mastering the one thing you truly control: yourself. One of the most powerful lessons Stoicism teaches is simple yet life-changing: control what you can and accept what you cannot. At first glance, this idea sounds obvious. Most people would agree with it without giving it much thought. But if you truly understand it and practice it every single day, it has the power to completely transform the way you think, react, and live. This single principle can reduce anxiety, eliminate unnecessary stress, strengthen your confidence, and help you face life's biggest challenges with calm determination. Think about how much of your daily stress comes from things you cannot control. You worry about what people think of you. You replay conversations in your head, wondering whether you said the right thing. You become frustrated because traffic is slow. You get angry when someone misunderstands your intentions. You feel disappointed because life doesn't unfold according to your plans. Every one of these situations has something in common. They involve trying to control things that have never truly belonged to you. Marcus Aurelius understood this truth deeply. Even though he ruled one of the greatest empires in history, he knew that being emperor did not mean controlling everything. Wars happened, diseases spread, betrayal existed. Natural disasters destroyed cities. People criticized him. Some obeyed him while others opposed him. Despite holding enormous power, he realized that peace would never come from controlling the outside world. Peace could only come from mastering the world within. Most people spend their lives chasing control over things that constantly change. They try to control the opinions of strangers, the behavior of family members, the actions of coworkers, the economy, the weather, the past, and even the future. They become exhausted because they are fighting battles they were never meant to win. It's like trying to stop the wind with your bare hands. No matter how hard you try, the wind keeps blowing. Imagine standing on a beach watching the waves. Would you become angry because the tide rises? Would you shout at the ocean because it refuses to stay still? Of course not. You understand that the sea follows its own nature, yet many people react exactly that way toward life. They become furious when reality refuses to obey their expectations. Instead of adapting, they resist. Instead of accepting, they complain. Instead of growing, they remain trapped in frustration. Stoicism offers a different path. It asks a simple question before every worry, every fear, and every emotional struggle. Is this within my control? If the answer is yes, then act with courage. If the answer is no, then let it go. This question alone has the power to save countless hours of anxiety. You cannot control whether people like you, but you can control whether you remain kind. You cannot control whether someone respects your efforts, but you can control the quality of your work. You cannot control whether success comes quickly, but you can control your persistence. You cannot control the weather, but you can control your attitude toward it. You cannot control yesterday, but you can control today. Every moment of your life presents this choice. Consider a student preparing for an important examination. Many students become overwhelmed because they obsess over the final result. They constantly ask themselves, what if I fail? What if the questions are difficult? What if others score higher than me? Notice that every one of these worries focuses on outcomes beyond complete control. A Stoic student asks a different question. Have I studied honestly today? Have I given my best effort? Have I used my time wisely? These questions focus on actions, not outcomes. The result may still be uncertain, but the student's mind becomes calmer because attention shifts toward what can actually be influenced. The same principle applies to business. Entrepreneurs often worry about competitors, market conditions, customer reactions, and economic uncertainty. While these factors matter, they cannot be fully controlled. A wise entrepreneur focuses on improving products, serving customers with excellence, learning new skills, making thoughtful decisions, and staying consistent. Those are choices that remain available regardless of external conditions. Relationships provide another powerful example. Many people try to force others to love them, appreciate them, or understand them. They sacrifice their peace trying to change another person's heart. But love cannot be demanded. Respect cannot be forced. Trust cannot be commanded overnight. You can only control your honesty, your patience, your communication, and your character. The other person's response belongs to them. Accepting this truth does not mean becoming passive. Stoicism is not about giving up. It is about directing energy toward meaningful action instead of wasted resistance. Imagine carrying two heavy bags every day. One contains things you can control. The other contains things you cannot. Most people spend all their strength lifting the second bag. They worry endlessly about problems they cannot solve. By evening, they feel mentally exhausted. Stoicism teaches you to put down the second bag. Once you stop carrying unnecessary weight, you discover how much energy you actually have for improving your own life. Many people believe that accepting reality means settling for less. In truth, acceptance creates the foundation for meaningful change. A doctor cannot treat a patient without first accepting the diagnosis. An athlete cannot improve without accepting current weaknesses. A leader cannot solve problems while denying they exist. Acceptance is not surrender. Acceptance is clarity. Think about a storm. You cannot command the storm to disappear, but you can prepare your shelter, secure your home, and protect your family. Fighting the storm changes nothing. Preparing for it changes everything. This lesson becomes even more valuable during difficult times. Everyone experiences loss. Everyone faces disappointment. Everyone encounters failure. These moments test character more than comfort ever will. Suppose you lose your job unexpectedly. One reaction is panic, anger, self-pity, and endless questions about fairness. Another reaction is acceptance followed by action. You update your resume. You improve your skills. You contact employers. You continue learning. The loss remains painful, but suffering decreases because attention returns to what is still possible. Life often closes one door while quietly opening another. Those who remain trapped blaming circumstances rarely notice new opportunities waiting nearby. Fear also loses much of its power when viewed through the Stoic lens. Fear usually grows by imagining countless future possibilities that may never happen. The mind invents disasters, predicts rejection, exaggerates failure, and creates problems before reality does. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" ask, "What action can I take right now?" The present moment always offers something within your control. Your thoughts are within your control. Your effort is within your control. Your honesty is within your control. Your discipline is within your control. Your response is within your control. Everything meaningful begins there. Imagine two people facing exactly the same obstacle. One spends months complaining about unfair circumstances. The other spends those same months improving skills, building discipline, and adapting to reality. At the end of the year, who is more likely to succeed? Their circumstances may have started the same, but their focus was completely different. This is why Stoicism places so much importance on responsibility. It reminds us that while we cannot choose every event that enters our lives, we can always choose our response. That response shapes our future more than the event itself. History repeatedly proves this lesson. Many extraordinary individuals were born into poverty, faced rejection, experienced failure, and endured hardship. What separated them was not perfect circumstances. It was their refusal to waste energy fighting reality. Instead, they focused relentlessly on the choices still available. Every setback contains two parts. The first part is the event itself. The second part is your interpretation of it. The event may be unavoidable. Your interpretation belongs entirely to you. Someone criticizes you, you can become angry for weeks, or you can calmly evaluate whether the criticism contains truth. If it does, improve. If it doesn't, move on. Someone rejects your idea, you can give up forever, or you can refine your approach and try again. Plans change unexpectedly. You can complain endlessly, or you can adapt creatively. The event stays the same. Your response determines the outcome. One of the greatest freedoms any person can experience is emotional independence. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means refusing to allow every external event to dictate your inner state. If your happiness depends entirely on other people behaving exactly as you wish, your peace will always remain fragile. If your confidence depends entirely on praise, criticism will destroy you. If your motivation depends entirely on perfect circumstances, you will rarely take action. Real strength develops when your values become stronger than your circumstances. Every sunrise offers a new opportunity to practice this lesson. Before reacting emotionally to a problem, pause and ask yourself whether it belongs inside your circle of control. If it does, take action immediately. If it does not, release your attachment to the outcome. This habit requires patience because the human mind naturally drifts toward worry. It enjoys replaying mistakes from yesterday and predicting disasters for tomorrow. But neither yesterday nor tomorrow can be controlled. Only today can. Imagine an archer aiming at a target. The archer controls training, posture, breathing, concentration, and the release of the arrow. Once the arrow leaves the bow, countless factors influence where it lands. A sudden gust of wind may appear. The target may move. Conditions may change unexpectedly. The Stoic archer measures success not only by hitting the target but by making the best possible shot with the skills available. Life works the same way. You control preparation, effort, honesty, discipline, and perseverance. Results involve many factors beyond your command. When you judge yourself by effort rather than outcome alone, disappointment loses much of its destructive power while confidence steadily grows through consistent action. Every complaint silently asks reality to become something different from what it is. Every act of acceptance begins with seeing reality clearly before deciding the next step. The clearer your vision becomes, the wiser your decisions become. Instead of resisting the facts, you learn to work with them. Instead of wasting precious energy on what cannot be changed, you invest it where it can produce growth. That shift in focus is small in appearance but enormous in impact, because every day presents hundreds of opportunities to choose between frustration and purposeful action, between helplessness and responsibility, between chasing the uncontrollable and strengthening the only thing that truly belongs to you, your own character. Your mind is the most powerful force you will ever possess. It can become your greatest ally, lifting you through failure, hardship, and uncertainty, or it can become your greatest enemy, trapping you in fear, doubt, and endless worry. Every victory you achieve begins in your thoughts long before it appears in your reality. Every defeat also starts there. That is why one of the greatest lessons of Stoicism is to master your mind before your circumstances. If you wait for life to count before finding peace, confidence, or happiness, you will spend your entire life waiting. But if you learn to govern your own thoughts, then no matter what happens around you, you will always possess something that cannot be taken away. Most people believe their emotions are created by external events. They say they are angry because someone insulted them. They say they are anxious because of their job. They say they are unhappy because life has treated them unfairly. But Stoic philosophy challenges this belief. It teaches that events themselves are not what disturb us. It is our interpretation of those events that creates emotional suffering. Two people can experience the exact same situation and react in completely different ways. One sees disaster while the other sees opportunity. One sees failure while the other sees a lesson. The event is identical, but the mind creates two completely different realities. Imagine two employees who lose their jobs on the same day. The first person immediately thinks, "My life is over. I will never recover from this. Everything is ruined." Fear takes control. Motivation disappears. Every day becomes heavier than the last. The second person feels disappointment too, but chooses a different perspective. This is difficult, but I still have my skills, my experience, and my determination. I will use this challenge to become stronger. The circumstances are exactly the same. The difference is not in the event. The difference is in the mind. This is why Marcus Aurelius spent so much time reflecting on his thoughts. As an emperor, he faced endless problems that would have overwhelmed most people. He dealt with wars, political conflict, disease, betrayal, and enormous responsibility. Yet instead of allowing these circumstances to control his inner world, he constantly reminded himself that his greatest responsibility was mastering his own mind. He understood that a leader who cannot govern himself will never truly govern anything else. Think about how often your mind creates suffering before reality ever does. You worry about conversations that have not happened yet. You imagine failures that never occur. You replay embarrassing moments from years ago as though they happened yesterday. You create arguments in your imagination. You predict rejection before anyone has spoken. You fear tomorrow while ignoring today. Your mind becomes a storyteller. Sometimes it tells stories that inspire courage. Other times it tells stories filled with fear. The danger is that many people believe every story their mind creates without questioning it. Suppose you send an important message to someone, and they do not reply for several hours. What usually happens? The mind begins inventing explanations. Maybe they are angry with me. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe they do not respect me anymore. Hours later, you discover their phone battery had simply died. Reality was never the problem. The imagination created unnecessary suffering. Stoicism teaches you to separate facts from assumptions. The fact is that someone has not replied. The assumption is that they dislike you. The fact is that you made a mistake. The assumption is that you are a failure. The fact is that life is difficult. The assumption is that it will always remain that way. Learning to distinguish facts from stories is one of the greatest forms of mental discipline. Every day your mind receives thousands of thoughts. Not every thought deserves your attention. Just because something appears in your mind does not make it true. Imagine sitting beside a busy road watching cars pass by. You do not chase every vehicle. You simply observe them. Thoughts should be treated the same way. Let them come and go without allowing each one to control your emotions. Many people become prisoners of their own thinking because they never pause long enough to question it. They assume every fear must be real. Every doubt must be correct. Every criticism must define them. But your thoughts are suggestions, not commands. Suppose your mind whispers, "You are not good enough." You have a choice. You can believe it immediately. Or you can ask, what evidence supports this thought? Very often you discover there is none. Perhaps you failed once. Perhaps someone criticized you. Perhaps progress has been slower than expected. None of these prove that you are incapable. They simply prove that you are human. The mind also has a habit of magnifying problems. A small mistake becomes a complete disaster. One rejection becomes proof that success is impossible. One difficult day becomes evidence that life is falling apart. Stoicism teaches the opposite habit. It encourages shrinking problems back to their actual size. Ask yourself, will this matter 1 year from now? Many of today's worries disappear when viewed through that question. A delayed flight, a rude comment, a forgotten appointment, an embarrassing moment. These events often occupy our minds far longer than they deserve. Mastering your mind means refusing to give small problems enormous power. Discipline begins with attention. Whatever receives your attention grows stronger. If you constantly focus on fear, fear expands. If you constantly focus on gratitude, gratitude grows. If you repeatedly focus on opportunity, your brain begins searching for possibilities instead of obstacles. Imagine planting 2 gardens. One is filled with seeds of courage, patience, wisdom, gratitude, and discipline. The other is filled with resentment, jealousy, fear, anger, and self-doubt. Whichever garden you water every day will become stronger.